Welcome, friends, to the Greyhaven's Hour, a place where the light of Tolkien's world still flickers in quiet hearts. In the last episode, we followed Bilbo, the small courage that began Middle-earth's first great healing. But today, we turn to one of the most tragic and noble figures in The Hobbit, Thorin Oakenshield. He is the king who lost his home, the exile who dreamed of gold, and the warrior whose heart was nearly devoured by it. Tolkien once wrote, "The evil of the world is not only in cruelty, but in possessiveness." And Thorin's story of pride, gold, and the price of redemption is one of the clearest mirrors of that truth. In this reflection, we'll explore Thorin's noble beginnings and the dragon's lingering shadow, the sickness of treasure and the corruption of desire, Bilbo's mercy and Thorin's downfall, and finally his quiet redemption at the edge of death. Because in Tolkien's world, even fallen kings can find their way home. Thorin Oakenshield's story begins in exile. He is the grandson of Thrall, king under the mountain, until Smaug the Golden descends on Erebor and drove the dwarves from their home. Tolkien tells us Thorin, son of Thrain, son of Thrall, king under the mountain, was an enormously important dwarf. But for all his lineage, he becomes a wanderer, a smith and a soldier with no throne. His title, Oakenshield, comes from the Battle of Osnulbazar, where he wielded a branch of oak in place of a shield, a symbol of stubborn courage and proud endurance. That pride, though, is both his strength and his flaw. Tolkien wrote in Letter 25 that Thorin represents the noble but self-willed hero, the hero that must learn gentleness. He is valiant and honourable, but he measures worth in heritage, not humility. When Gandalf chooses Bilbo to join the quest, Thorin protests. He looks more like a grocer than a burglar. Already, pride blinds him, and pride will be his undoing. Smaug is slain, but his shadow lingers. Tolkien warns us that dragons leave a sickness in their wake. The lust of gold is a terrible power. The dwarves reclaim the mountain, but Thorin's heart begins to darken. He searches for the Arkenstone, the heart of the mountain, with a fervid intensity. "The Arkenstone, that is mine by right. I will not be parted from it." The irony is the dragon is gone, but the dragon's spirit now lives within him. This is what Tolkien called dragon sickness. Not greed for coins, but the possessive love of mastery. In his commentary on The Hobbit, Tolkien described it as a perversion of craft, the desire not to make but to own. The same sin that would later corrupt Sauron, Saruman, and even the Ringbearer. Gold becomes Thorin's ring, his precious burden, his spiritual test. When Bilbo secretly takes the Arkenstone, he does so not for gain, but to bring peace between the armies gathering outside Erebor. He tells Bard and the Elven King, "This is the Arkenstone of Thrain. I give it to you. It may aid you in your bargaining." It is an act of pure courage, the courage of conscience. But when Thorin discovers the truth, he is consumed with wrath. You miserable hobbit, you undersized burglar!" For a moment, it seems the mercy he once showed to Gollum has no place here. Yet it is precisely this mercy that will save Thorin's soul. When Gandalf reveals Bilbo's act was done for peace, Thorin cannot yet understand. He says bitterly, "May you never again see the light of day." It is one of Tolkien's darkest turns. The proud king now enslaved by his own treasure. And yet, as so often in Tolkien's world, grace works in hidden ways. Bilbo's compassion plants a seed, one that will bloom only at the edge of death. The storm finally breaks. Elves, men and dwarves clash before the mountain, until the goblins descend from the north. Thorin rallies his kin with fury and splendour. "Now is the hour! Sons of Durin, fight for your kin and gold!" It is pride, but also courage. He fights like the king he once was, fierce, noble, desperate, but in the end, pride meets its limit. He is mortally wounded, and it is here, in his dying, that Thorin truly becomes great. He asks to see Bilbo one last time, and he says the words that redeem the whole tale. "Farewell, good thief. I go now to the halls of waiting to sit beside my fathers, until the world is renewed. Since I leave now gold and silver, and go where it is of little worth, I wish to part in friendship with you." And then, the line that becomes Tolkien's moral epitaph of the age. "If more of us valued food and cheer and song above hoarding gold, it would be a merrier world." In those words, pride yields to peace. Thorin is forgiven and freed. When Bilbo kneels by Thorin's body, Tolkien writes simply, "There was a heavy silence. He knelt and kissed Thorin's brow." The image mirrors Frodo and Boromir in The Lord of the Rings, another proud warrior redeemed by remorse. Tolkien's own experience in war shaped these scenes. He saw men die nobly, and sometimes redeemed at the last. He wrote later, "The worth of a man is not in victory, but in the mercy he learns before the end." Thorin's death is not failure, it is fulfillment. He finally becomes the king he was meant to be, one who values fellowship over gold. And in his fall, Bilbo learns the final lesson of adventure, that courage and mercy are stronger than pride and possession. The treasure of Erebor was never its gold, it was the bond between hearts that refused to stay broken. The dwarves rebuild their halls, peace returns, but not unscarring. And Bilbo, returning to his quiet hole, carries with him the wisdom Thorin found too late. That joy, like gold, is only pure when it is shared. Thorin's story becomes a prophecy of the ages, for Boromir, for Denethor, even for Frodo. It is Tolkien's eternal rhythm, the fall, the repentance, and the grace that follows. Because in the end, even kings must learn to kneel. Thank you for joining the Greyhaven's Hour. Thorin Oakenshield's tale reminds us that redemption often comes not through might, but through surrender. That pride can shatter kingdoms, but mercy can restore the heart. If this reflection brought you something, a spark of hope, a quiet thought, please share it. Until next time, may you value food and cheer and song, and may your treasure always be what gold cannot buy.